Hello and welcome to a new episode of Other Record Labels. I'm your host, Scott Orr. Thank you so much for listening in today. We're going to talk about the art and culture of running a record label, and I hope that you find these episodes helpful. Of course, you probably do because you're still listening, but I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for being a part of this community. I've said this for the past 3 years, but our download numbers continue to go up for the podcast, which is super helpful, super encouraging, and I love it. Thank you so much. And I want to talk about something that's for me, it's fun right now to talk about, but it is a point of contention for a lot of labels. And we're going to talk about how to talk to artists about money. And this is, the idea of money is where a lot of conflict happens. And, for me personally, a lot of the not serious conflict, but just those uncomfortable conversations have occurred when we're talking about money. And so I want to give you 4 tips today that I think will help reduce your chances of experiencing conflict. I think they will help reduce stress and anxiety that comes with running a record label. And it will actually just make the experience a lot better for you and for the artists. And I think back over the past 10 or so years of interacting with artists and talking about money and some of the uncomfortable conversations that I've had. And, I feel like I have less and less of those conversations unless I break one of my rules, unless I forget to do something ahead of time or I forget to be transparent. Then I start to run into a little bit of the artist is asking a question and I'm like, oh, shoot, I should have talked to you about this ahead of time. And then, of course, that's where that little bit of tension comes from. Luckily, I've never experienced anything like a huge fight. I've never had any legal troubles or anything, but there have been these conversations where our expectations, I have these predetermined expectations, artists have these expectations, and all of a sudden they start to rub against each other. And so that's what I want to help you prevent with your label. I've got 4 things. I'm excited to talk about them. Remember, go to our website, otherrecordlabels.com, where I'm trying to continue to pump that website full of resources, and join our Facebook group. There's a link on our website to join our Facebook group. And so head over there and join that group to get more and more resources as the months and years go on. The first thing I want to say is to do it early. Talk about money with your artist as early as possible, especially before any money is spent or any money is earned. Explain the whole business model to them before they can establish any expectations. And so you just want to be really upfront as early as possible and say, hey, listen, this is the type of revenue I've done in the past. These are the kind of numbers we're dealing with. You can say, this is the percentage of royalties that you're going to get paid. This is something that I've established for the past couple of years, or this is something I've been thinking about. You want to have these conversations as early as possible. In fact, if you have a discovery call with a potential artist that you want to sign, or you go out for coffee or drinks with an artist that is interested in signing with your label, you should talk about money then. That's really important to be talking about money at that stage. Get everything on paper in an email and really just try to make sure that you, as early as possible, have all of the conversations that you can possibly have about money. Do it before any money comes in or any money is spent. Think back on your previous experiences, if you've had previous experiences, and think about all of the times where you generate revenue, whether it's movies and TV licensing, or it's, some live venues or merch or just traditional album sales. Think about all of those experiences, how you've dealt with money, how you've got money, and how you've paid the artist, and make sure as early as possible you get that all out on the table with the artist as early as possible. Number 2, be prepared. Do your own research. Talk to other labels. This is for new labels, but talk to other labels about their percentages. Make a budget and explain how your percentage is justified. So number 2 is to be prepared. So basically what I'm saying is you might have this meeting where you're up front early with the artist and you say, listen, I take 50% of all digital sales. And the artist will say, why? Why are you taking 50%? Why are you taking as much as the person who wrote it or recorded it? And you have to be prepared to answer that question. Now, maybe you can't answer that question, and maybe then you should be taking less than 50%. But if you have a valid reason, you can say, these are my contacts, this is my expertise, this is the things I'm going to provide you, and here's a budget, here's where I spend the money. Maybe 5 or 10% of that 50% goes to charity. Maybe you have some things that are all outlined. So when somebody asks you, why are you taking this percentage? Or you have to explain the value that the label brings to the relationship, you want to have that all outlined as soon as possible. So number 2 is be prepared. Number 3, be over transparent. That's such a buzzword, transparent, but just be as transparent as possible. Explain the royalties. Show them inside your portal, your terminal from your distributor. If you can do that without disclosing any you don't want to show an artist any finances or financial statements from other artists. That's a big no-no. But where you can, maybe you have like a sample spreadsheet that you can show them, but be over transparent. Show them how often you get paid, how long some things take. For example, Spotify, hopefully this will change, but the way that they do their accounting, sometimes like I won't get actual money in hand from Spotify for like 3 to 4 months from when the song was streamed. And so, as time goes on, it's not a big deal, but it's something that I've learned to accept, and it's just built into how I operate. But for an artist, they could be like, "Hey, listen, last week I got 1,000 streams on that new album. Can I get that money?" You have to kind of explain and be super transparent, and let them look through everything that you're able to share. And this leads me to number 4. You have to remember that this is their first time for some people. Okay. When you're signing an artist, maybe they're veterans of the industry, but don't assume that they know everything. Don't assume that their expectations are your expectations. Don't assume that they know things like the difference between gross and net. Don't assume that they know that most people in indie music do a 50-50 split. Don't assume that they know that when you get a song played in a movie, that whoever got that sync is going to split it probably 50-50, and then you as a label are going to take a certain percentage. Don't assume that they know all that. Don't assume that they know that Spotify pays 3 to 4 months later. Don't assume that they know that one Spotify stream equals 0.000006 or whatever. These are all things that you should be upfront about and transparent about as early as possible, as often as possible, because we just think, we've talked about this on the show tons about how problematic it can be for us who are running this label. We are reading the books. We are listening to incredible podcasts like this one, and we have so much information about running a record label in our brains, and we assume that everyone else does. And so when we work with artists, remember, they're thinking about guitar pedals and synths and software and songwriting and lyrics and booking shows and merch and all that stuff. They're not thinking about the financial budget process of everything. So when we're talking with artists about money, we want to make sure, let's go back over them. We do it early, number 1. We're prepared, number 2, to defend and to explain how the process works and to justify the finances we're discussing. And number 3, to be over transparent. That should be obvious. That should be number 1. And number 4 is to remember that this is their first time in some cases. And when it's not their first time, obviously we don't want to be patronizing, but I would rather be patronizing to an artist than to not provide them with all the information. So that's a risk that I'm willing to take. So I hope that you found this helpful. Be over transparent, be over prepared, be over early. Really, you should have an artist who says, okay, listen, I get it. Stop talking to me about money. I understand. That's the goal that you should hopefully reach. Thank you so much for listening. Go to otherrecordlabels.com to get more resources like our marketing checklist, our how to start a record label checklist, and our free guide for indie record labels, and listen to past interviews with other labels. In fact, you could even reach out to other record labels or post a question on our Facebook group to ask how other people deal with talking about money for artists. In fact, I'm curious, if you're watching this video on YouTube or you're listening to this on podcast, send me an email, podcast@otherrecordlabels.com, and let me know how you talk to artists about money. I'm kind of curious. It's such a uncomfortable experience, but there are ways that we can do it ahead of time and to be really appropriate about it so that we don't have those uncomfortable conversations. Thanks so much for listening.